Welcome to our lesson on modeling division of fractions. We're going to have some fun drawing some shapes today and modeling exactly what dividing fractions means. Our goal today, our learning target, is to be able to use models and written methods to divide fractions by fractions. So here's our first problem. We're going to start with whole numbers divided by fractions. Always the first number listed is what you have to start with. It's the amount that you have that you are dividing into groups. So we're always going to start by drawing the first number that we have because it is what we have to start with. So we have down here 3 rectangles that represent the 3 wholes that we are going to divide up. We're going to divide it into groups of 1/4. So I take each of those rectangles and divide it into fourths. So you can see each rectangle is now in groups of 1/4, and then we count up how many fourths there are. So this would be one group of 1/4, a second group of 1/4, a third group of 1/4, and a fourth group of 1/4. So there are 4 in each of my holes, so there are 12 1/4 all together. So 3 divided by 1/4 equals 12. Okay, let's give it a shot on our own. So we're going to start right here with 5 divided by 1/3. So what that means is that we have 5 holes. So you can see my 5 rectangles, and we're going to divide each of those into thirds, and then we're going to count up how many thirds there are. So I'm going to take my drawing tool right here, and I'm going to make it a little bit thicker so that you can see it. And then I'm going to choose a color, and I'm going to divide each of my rectangles up into groups of 1/3. Just like that. So now each hole is in 1/3, and now I'm going to count up how many 1/3s that I have. So each of these is equal to 1/3. So I start to count them. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There are 15 1/3s in 5. So the correct answer to 15 divided by 1/3 or 5 divided by 1/3 is 15. There are 15 1/3s in 5. Let's try another one. We have 4 divided by 1/5. So I have my 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to divide those into fifths. So here we go. I'm going to draw my 4 lines in each section. They should be equal size pieces, but because I'm not measuring them out, mine are probably not exactly equal. But there they are, each in fifths. And so each of these is 1/5 of the whole. So I'm going to count up how many of those 1/5s there are. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 1/5s in 4, so my answer is 20. 4 divided by 1/5 is 20. All right, give this one a try on your own and pause the video and do it on your own, and then play the video back and see if you got it correct. Okay, so I have my 2 rectangles. I'm going to divide each of those into 6. And to avoid having to make too many straight lines, I'm going to do a 3 by 2. So I'm going to divide it into thirds one way and halves going the other way, so that each of these right here is a 1/6 piece of the whole. And then I'm going to count up how many 1/6 I have. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 1/6 in 2. So the correct answer is 12. All right, try this one. Pause this. Try this one on your own and see how you do. Okay, I'm going to insert my 4 holes so that I have those to start with. They should all look the same, but as I'm doing this, I might not get them all exact, but they should be if I were, whoops, being totally exact there. So let's go ahead and divide them into 1/6. So again, I'm going to do that in a 2 by 3 or 3 by 2 so that I don't have to draw quite so many lines all in a row. And then each of these pieces is 1/6 of the whole. And so I'm going to count up how many of them I have. So there are 6 in each of my holes. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18, 24. There are 24 1/6 in my 4 holes. So the 4 divided by 1/6 is equal to 24. Pause and try this one on your own. I have 2 and I'm going to divide it into 1/3. So here we go. I drew my 2 holes and I divided it into 3 equal sized pieces where each of them is equal to 1/3 of the whole. So there's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those 1/3 in 2. So the correct answer is 6. 2 divided by 1/3 equals 6. All right, we're going to move on now where we're going to switch the order and we're going to start with a fraction and divide it into equal size groups. So 4/5 divided by 3. The process is the same. I'm always going to draw the first number first because that's the amount that I have. So right here we have 4/5. We drew the whole and divided it into fifths and then shaded 4 of those fifths because I only have 4/5. And then I divide it into 3 equal groups. And then what I'm looking at is how many are in each of those 3 groups. So let's give that a try right here. We have 1/4 divided by 3. So here's the whole. It's divided into fourths, but I only have 1/4 of it. So I'm going to shade in 1/4 of my whole because that's all of it that I have. Now I am going to divide that into 3 groups, and I'm going to divide it all the way across. And now I am going to look at each of those groups. Here's one group right here. Here's another group right here, and here's a third group right here. I just want to see how many are in each group. So this piece right here is 1 in this group is 1/12 of the whole thing. So my answer is 1/12. Each group has 1/12 of the whole in it. Let's try another one. 5/7 divided by 2. So here's my whole divided into sevenths, but I only have 5 of them. So I'm going to shade in 5 because that's how much I actually have. And then I'm going to divide that into 2 equal size groups. And here's one group right here, and here's the other group right here. I really just want to know how much is in one group. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. And those pieces now represent, each of those pieces are 1/14 of the whole thing. And there are 5 of them. So my answer is going to be 5/14. So 5/7 divided into 2 groups equals 5/14. Let's try one more and then we'll have you try it on your own. So I have 2/5 divided by 4. So I'm going to shade in the 2/5 that I actually have to start with. And then I'm going to divide that up into 4 equal groups. And I'm looking at how many is in one group. So there are 2 pieces in that group, but each of those pieces now represents 1/20th because my whole is divided into 20ths. So my answer is there are 2/20ths, or I could put that in simplest form, 1/10 of in each group. So 2/5 divided by 4 is 2/20ths. Pause the video here and try this one on your own. 1/6 divided by 4. Okay, so I have drawn my whole and divided it into 6. I only have 1/6 of the whole, so I'm going to go ahead and shade in that 1/6 right here. And then I'm going to divide it into 4 groups. And then I'm going to look at how many is in a group. So I have 1 piece in my group, but my whole is now divided into 24 pieces. So each of those pieces represents a 24th of the whole. So 1/6 divided by 4 is equal to 1/24th. Pause the video and try 1/3 divided by 3 on your own. Okay, I have my whole and it's divided into thirds. I only have 1/3 of the whole thing. So I'm going to shade in the 1/3 that I have, and then I am going to divide it into 3 equal groups. And I'm going to look at how many is in a group. So I have 1 piece in each group, and that piece is now 1/9 of the whole thing because my whole is divided into 9 equal size pieces now. So 1/3 divided by 3 is 1/9. All right, we're going to try dividing fractions by fractions now. So our goal is the same. We start with the first number. That's what we have to start with, 2/3. So here's my 2/3 shaded in, and I'm dividing it into 1/6. So I want to know how many 1/6 are in that 2/3. So you can see my whole underneath is the same, but now I've divided it into 6 equal pieces, and there are 4 1/6 in the same, that is the same as the 2/3. Okay, so we're going to try that here. 3/4 divided by 1/8. So I'm going to draw my whole, which is not a triangle. I'm going to draw my whole over here and divide it into fourths. And then I'm going to shade in 3 of them so that I have 3/4, which is the amount that I have to start with. Then I want to find out how many 1/8 are in 3/4. That's really hard to tell when I'm dealing in fourths and not eighths. So the easiest thing to do is to divide that whole so that it's in 8 equal pieces. Now you can see that each of these wholes is 1/8. There's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. So we want to know how many 1/8 are in the 3/4 that I have shaded in. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 1/8 in 3/4. So my answer, 3/4 divided by 1/8, is 6. Let's try another one. Let's do 3/4 divided by 2/12. So let's draw our whole, and then we're going to divide it into fourths and shade in 3 of them because 3/4 is what I have to start with. Then I want to know how many 2/12ths, I let go of it. How many 2/12 are there in that 3/4? Well, that's hard to tell when I'm in fourths and not twelfths. So probably what I want to do is divide this up into twelfths. So since I know that 4 times 3 is 12, I know that if I divide it into 3 equal sections going this way, I have a 4 by 3, which is 12 equal size pieces. So now each piece is 1/12 of the whole. My group though is 2/12. I'm looking at how many groups of 2/12. So I'm going to circle 2/12 at a time. There's a group of 2/12. There's a group of 2/12. There's a group of 2/12. And there's a group of 2/12. Now this little piece right here, that group of 2/12, I only have half of that group. So I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 whole groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have half of another group of 2/12 because I only have this piece and not this piece. I have 1/12 but not 2/12. So my answer is going to be 4. I have 4 whole groups and I have half of another group. So my answer is going to be 4 1/2. 3/4 divided by 2/12 equals 4 1/2. Let's try another one. So I have 7/10 divided by 1/5. So let's get our 7/10 here. So I'm going to draw one down the middle and do each side. And I only have 7 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and shade in 7 of my tenths. And I'm dividing it into groups of 1/5. So I want to count how many groups of 1/5 are in 7/10. So I know that's really, I'm already dealing in tenths, so it's really hard to count off in fifths. But if I use an equivalent fraction and say that 1/5 is the same as 2/10, then it makes it a little bit easier for me to count off. So 1/5 is the same as 2/10, so I'm going to count off in groups of 2/10. So each of these is 1/10. So here's a group of 2/10, and here's a group of 2/10, and here's a group of 2/10, and then there's that group. Now I have 3 full groups, and then on this one I have 1/10 out of the 2/10 that I need. So I only have half of a group here. So I actually have 3 whole groups and then half of another group. So 7/10 divided by 1/5 would be 3 1/2. Hey, thanks for watching and good luck.